it would be nice if you can create a more descriptive analysis uh, about those libraries and how they need to be used. So it would be like you what you can do is that you can create an GitHub issue, and in that GitHub issue you can mention all your doubts, all your questions, and what you have and your research. So I hope this helps. It would be much helpful to read and collaborate. Okay, thank you, Altaf. Does anyone have any questions to ask to Altaf before we go to the next person? Okay, great. Thank you, Altaf, for sharing and sharing your progress. Archit, are you back, or would you like to share about the new solution page? I guess he's not. So, Internet, I think you can go next.
Okay, so I wanted to give a quick update. I saw that Lee had attempted to create a patch release the other day, but we are still running on manual, having to manually update the version in package JSON for the systems package. And so I cleaned it up yesterday and then have done another release. So anybody that was looking to use the latest one from version 0.14.7, you're able to use it now. However, there are certain components or functions that are not exported because they still need to be worked on. But that's but you're able to use it now if you were trying to use the schemas, and there was another one. But yes, that's the latest update on that. I will be working on sometime for the rest of this week to get the rest of the filters done, and then I will be updating the PRs to get a update, because some of the PRs need to be updated to reflect that there is no packages location packages folder. So you just need to move everything into storage, and then make sure it build, and make sure it passed linting. I prefer that we do that to avoid having to go back and make changes. But if anybody would like to contribute, just let me know. If there is any confusion about how to build, how to compile, how to test, please ask the question in Slack. I understand that the documentation is still lacking. I'm still working on to get that because of having to change from the multiple to a single package. There were certain features that learner was doing for the building and the releasing part. Now we're doing it ourselves. That's the update that I have for the systems part. Does anybody have any questions, feedback, or comment?
So the recent system release is mostly, I see that compatible with Next.js 14, right?
It's mostly what? I'm sorry.
I didn't get it.
She didn't hear what you said about Next.js 14. You're asking if the latest release of Systent is compatible with Next.js 14, even if it is?
Yeah. It is, because whenever we started on the package, it would start from the React 18, and then, as you remember, at some point I revised the React version to support at least 17, but it will not work on 16 if you're trying to use 16 somewhere. I know we're not using 16, but if you're trying to, probably won't work as you want it to be. But there are questions about changing to Next.js 14, and it's possible to do that at this time. The reason is because I spent a few months on this to migrate from 12 to 13 to 14, and whenever 13 first came out, when they first released the app router, there were a lot of buggy issues in the beginning, not just specific to app router, but to also to pages router, because apparently any of the ongoing issues they had in 12, it actually came up in 13. So it seemed to be stabilized in 14. So I am going to probably create a test PR on that. If not, then I'll probably will create the example app and the assistance repo, just so that we can get an idea of what it looked like. To add on to that, I also know that Lee will be talking about the upcoming, current mentorship. I'm also part of that as well with Lee, but I am working on refining the checklist on the items that we will need to complete, hopefully to complete during this period of mentorship, and that means to be able to get out of 12 into at least 13. We'll be happy for 14, but if not 14, we can always aim for that sometime by the end of this year. Hopefully Next.js doesn't come out with a 15 and said, oh my God, we have to change the whole darn thing. But yes, the migration from version 4 to version 5, there are some components that we don't cover just yet, and so we'll have to do component one component at a time. There are some that are rooted with one main parent component that is being used in several different places, and there are plenty of them that are easy to convert, just making sure that the parent component is not a class component. So we'll also be working on that as well. And Lee, would you like to provide some information as well?
Yeah, yeah, there's a link in the Zoom chat to an open issue that describes considerations as to what we need to do to move up to the later versions of React and Next.js, and there might be a different issue about the upgrade of MUI as well. But all around, each of those frameworks that Meshery is using, Meshery needs to be using later versions of all of them. And Tanet, I did have a question on Systent. What step, when we do need to make a release, are there just a couple of manual steps yet to just, what are those? Or if those are written down, I can just go read them, or
since I removed learner, the only manual step is just running npm version patch minor or major. That's the only thing. And then all you have to do is once you version the package, and then you just push it, and then you can make the release. That's still a very small disconnect, because GitHub release doesn't there are ways to do it, but we just have to add like an extra step to get GitHub release to run through the GitHub action workflow, and then check for the version, and then just do it from there. I think I saw in one of the other repos that we have, there is a script that has been done, but yeah, that's really the only minor thing, really. Whenever I made the release yesterday, that's what I did. I just did I deleted the GitHub release, and then I went to do a minor, a patch version with npm, push it, and then do a GitHub release to run the GitHub action so that the package can be published.
Nice. Okay. So like an npm version patch command.
Yeah, in the package JSON you will see in the script, there's a version up for patch, minor, and major. That's what you can use in the meantime. To avoid having to create the version on the master branch, it would be ideal to do it in the PR if you already know that you need to have it released from that PR. Once whoever approves it, and then move it in. Um, and a part of it is because you have the master branch protected, but also it's better to have it version through the PR instead of just coming from master and then having to refetch every single time that we do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I still am going to create a script for it. It just trying to think of scenarios of where we can just do like a quick hey, we need to do a quick release and then boom and that's it, or something else. But
Yeah.
I'm working on that part.
Okay. Yeah. Ideally, in the end, we would just go create a GitHub release and put the version number there, and that's it, and click publish. And I think that that's possible, right? That the workflow would kick off if the workflow needs to run npm version, and it would just include the same version that someone has put into the release, npm version with that version number, patch, or whatever it needs to run to generate the package and push.
Right. Yeah, we can. I can add another step to do the version patch within that workflow.
Yeah. I mean,
We can do, because most of the time we'll be doing patch releases anyway, and anything major we'll just plan for that, and then do I don't know, maybe do a separate. I don't know. Yeah, we can talk more about that offline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You have to, when you
Okay.
run the version command, you have to specify the level, huh? Not just the version number.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about like with all the other fancy packages, not just Learner, like Learner and Turbo and semantic release it, they all do it for you. So in this case, because since this is just smaller, at a smaller scale, and we're not really releasing as much, it is okay for this that we could put in an input and then just specify what release that we'd like it to be, or whether it to be, hey, make sure to run the patch, and then just put the npm version, the variable for patch, and then we'll just do it that way. We could probably do it that way. So just keep the workflow simple and go from there. Because as npm complains if there's already a package that's available. Can't, and we could override it, but we don't want to go into all that. But yeah, I'll look into that today. Well, definitely this week to get that manual step out of the way.
Nice. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. That's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to what Antoinette was saying is that if there are people on the call that are wanting to help in terms of this initiative, the upgrade of Next.js, the upgrade of MUI, the upgrade of maybe of Node as well. Yep, that there's a link. There's work in progress. Jump in, ask questions. Antoinette is someone to go see. There are others in the community that can help guide as well. Yeah, there's been an effort around it for a while.
I do want to point out that we are also doing a Redux migration, but the only reason why I haven't pushed just yet to migrate the current one that we have, because I know that there are a portion of it that's been migrated to RTK. And so I would like to try to get some of them well, work out a plan to figure out which one that can be migrated in the meantime, because once we convert from a class component to a function component, we'll also need to use the Redux hooks for use use selector and use I'm sorry, it's escaping me, but the hooks from Redux, and then we can convert those. Now there have been some PRs that I have seen where it still work with the class component, but it's still it I'm not saying that it's bad, but it just to look a little, a little tangled. So just try to see that if there are any instances where you can migrate to use the hooks, then go for it. We do have some components that already function that will need to be used in that. But as I've always said, I'm always testing this. I have like multiple test uh, apps that uses these new things. It's just that there are certain functionality that we have that needs to make sure that it works. And so some of them can be migrated to RTK. And once that's done, then I'll be making a list of what can be done for the rest of them. Namely, the one is the Kubernetes ping. I actually felt like that shouldn't be in the regular Redux. It should be with the RTK. So I'm not sure if anybody been working on that.
I don't know. Abid isn't here. Sudhanshu and Yash, do you guys know?
Like any new component that we currently make can be used with the RTK. The only thing that holding us, you already said, was the class-based component, which are holding us for the using migrating from the Redux. So,
Okay. Well, as I said, in the meantime, we'll, I'll revise my open issue to make it more cleaner and more readable. Sorry, and we'll go from there. So
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Yash, what do we have next on the agenda?
thank you, Internet, for sharing the information about this instant patch release. Next one is Lee about the 018 roadmap update.
Oh, okay. Gosh, yeah. So I don't have a concise outline. So many of you are aware that Meshery is in about the middle of the development process for its .8 release. And so we got about a month left, hopefully, to get the release out. There are there's a bunch of things we're trying to do. There isn't like what needs to happen here in order to report on status is folks that are championing their areas need to report on how far along they are. And so there's a lot of people missing today. So I don't know if the best use of our time is to attempt to get half of an update. Rather is probably to send this out asking those component or those theme champions to come in and just check mark where they've got things done and where they don't. Or where teams or people working with them have things done or where they don't. We lost one of our theme champions, so Pranav Singh is not on the call and he's stepped away from the project. So we'll need to identify a new theme champion there. that's about it. Like, I don't know that it's, is there anyone on the call that would like a better understanding of some of the things that are being built out? Or the people that are currently working in these areas that have got questions? There's a few design specs that are out there. They're open for review. So I joined the call late, but someone was talking about OCI, and there's an open design spec on what we're looking to accomplish there. It's currently under review, so please go, if you're into that, please go give it a review. There's a few design specs. There's a few that are linked here. So I'm not sure what percentage of the V08 roadmap is completed at the moment. There are some things that have been completed. There are some things that don't look so good. The multi-tiered, the enhancements around MeshSync, Miss Daniel is leading that area and doesn't have design specs yet, and it doesn't look like he's going to make it. It doesn't look like. So there may be some things we may need to have a discussion about cutting some things from the release. Did anybody else have comment or question on how far along they are? Some of you are theme champions that are on the call now, so you can give an update if you'd like. Antoinette just gave one on Systent. So part of what if you scroll down just a little bit, part of what's we're attempting to accomplish in this release is, I think it's a little further down, should be a UI section. So Antoinette's the theme champion for the complete incorporation of RTK. So Sudhanshu, you're chasing that down. Sonali, who's also not here, is to help us switch to all components being sourced from Systent. And then that we would have a Systent design system completed and a website published. We should probably talk about that for a moment. There's been a couple of attempts to create a website for Systent that just outlines what the design system is, has a list of the components and resources for people who use the design system. The site itself doesn't need to be super special. We need a way of publishing this info so that people who are contributing can go look up what components are available, look up what guidelines there are for how they get used, or when they get used, look, to read through the design system. We've made a couple of contributors have come by trying to make an attempt to put up a website that hasn't happened. In hopefully this third and final attempt, we'll just, instead of making a new site, just carve out a section of layer 5 IO. And given that it already has much scaffolding needed, a header, a footer, it has navigation menus, we just start putting up some pages, and there's existing navigation menus to use. So Rex, do you have is there something more complex that we need to consider for? Ritik, it sounded like you didn't want to read, you had some thoughts about like this redesign.
Did-
Can we flesh this out, or?
Yeah, like Rex has already put like a lot of designs, about a lot of time like in designing that site, and it also took a lot of time. So now if he redesigned that whole site, so that will all take time. So and then after the design is done, then Lakshya or the other contributor, those are working on the site, they will start implementation. So what we can do is either like document the directly just use the screenshot and document at a place uh, for the section that we want to section to be look like, and simultaneously asynchronously Lakshya and other developers can start the implementation and Rex, and we will just redesign the site on Figma.
Okay, Rex, no thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are we probably need to have a better discussion about this because, like you mentioned, there have been attempts at it and probably has dragged on for quite some time. I think the major issue that we've experienced is the lack of cohesion between design and development. And so there's one thing being designed, and then we're proposing using what we already have. Meanwhile, what the design system is saying is some of these principles have to change. If you're changing these set principles, you can't implement new principles with old content or old patterns or old components. And I think that's been the major issue that that has, put a stop to most of these things. So if we determine what are those things we want to keep, what are the things that might change or the things that we have to make, and we can incorporate in a short period of time, on the good end of things, then possibly we might have a solution.
Okay, so here's the design system, the website mockups. Good. So this is the entire site mockup, right? Okay,
Right.
good. And so there are there's a number of pages and collections of pages. Good. Does it need to be, does the menu need to be like this menu? Can it be a different menu? We're not being successful getting a website up. I'm trying to figure out how we can. Does the presentation of it need to look exactly what's in the mockup? There are a couple of different menu systems in this site right now. So we're not being successful putting up a new site. So let's put it here. That was one of the choices that we'd had to start with. Here's a menu, collection of things that people can click on to look through. When they're clicking on it and reading about it, if they want to go to the next page, the next section, they can do like so. If they need to go back up to the higher level section, they can click back. That's one navigation. A different navigation that's readily available is like this. You go to this section. So this section would be about Systent and the design system. There might be something about identity, components, patterns, and templates in these different areas. So you click here and you're looking at patterns and templates. And on the page, there's an internal page navigator, just as there would be here. When you need to go back to a different area, you can use this navigator on the left. Does this work, or do we need something else? Do we need it to be like this?
In an earlier conversation I had with Sudanshu, I think we established that the initial implementation could be simple, and then we could build on it as time goes on, and hopefully we're able to get a separate site. Incorporating it into Layer 5's main site is not a bad idea since we want to have it running up and running as fast as possible. So those menus you shared, those seem like bad options. They seem like what could work, maybe with a few tweaks, because the structure of this particular menu is that there are 5 sections, and then just 2 of those 5 sections have children elements in them, while the rest are just places where you can click and go to them directly. So because we don't want to have too much components on that left side menu there, like it's here, we want it to be a case of something that you don't have to start scrolling the page. For some smaller screens, before you see the bottom options of the left menu, you have to scroll up, and I try to avoid that, so we'd have as little as possible. Then whatever it needs to be presented, those ones that don't have children components would have like cards once you click on them. So they'd have cards like you showed on one other page. So it's quite similar. If you check through the designs, you see what I'm saying. I'm talking specifically about the components section. So if you click on components, you'd see the card of components, all the different components that are supposed to be outlined, there. So it could definitely work. And then in future iterations, we could, possibly have custom elements that could serve all of these purposes. So I guess we'll just have to try it out and see, given the time constraints.
Well, or given the ability for anyone to actually implement it. Right? I mean, yeah, we want to get it up, and people here volunteering, but not capable of getting it done. No one's really driving the project, leading it, helping it get done. Yeah, I don't know. I don't view us as necessarily having a choice at the moment. I don't know. Yeah, it could grow into its own site. There's a couple of different paradigms. I mean, even if yeah, it's easy enough to create a secondary nav system. There's quite a few on this site already. If you go to learn, it says that there are learning paths. I can train my eyes right here. So if you go to learning paths, there's choose between two. So here's one top level nav. When you choose one, it says, okay, well, there's two courses inside of there. Which course do you want to do? Let's do the advanced one. Then you can get started. There's a table. So this is itself as a course. There's chapters here. When you go in, you can then I don't know. It's the whole thing actually. So the challenge with building all of this out, you're gonna have to build out redundant. This I don't agree with. It should be a layer 5 site. The same with the footer, not necessarily its own separate thing. We've got so many of these we can't keep up with them. It's quite difficult. The weekly call that we have, we almost barely get off of the layer 5 IO site, even though there's like 8 other ones that we should be continuing to curate and update. It's okay if it's separate, it's okay but I don't know, we're having a hard time getting it done. I don't know. It's
Latria is the one that is currently working on it, right?
He is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. As you guys go to have those conversations, have them publicly. Some of those things are not happening necessarily publicly. Thank you, Cesar. I didn't realize we're over time. Yep. Try to work with them. It's gonna falter again is what's gonna happen. So yeah, it's not going to happen. Sandra, do you have something to add? Were you guys successful at the thing that you were trying to accomplish?
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay. Can you talk about the thing that you were attempting to do, and are there any lessons that we can learn from that? Is it still going forward?
Do you mean the tutorial?
No, on the assistant website, I think you'd.
Yes, I will do that. So we attempted to clone the entire layer 5 website. Having gone through it as a user, I didn't realize the code base was much larger than we expected. So deleting components and in pages that we did not need took a couple days. But then after those were deleted, to run a make site, several things that were connected to the pages, links that were connected to the pages that were deleted also needed to be removed. So this process took a long time. I did take note of when the idea first came about, when you said that we could just create a section within the layer 5 and for the system website. But then I think we were more eager to try cloning the entire website. So what we've been doing since I think the day before yesterday is create a section within layer 5, forget the clone, but create a section within layer 5, divide the work. I think a few contributors came on board. I would say we're about around four, unconfirmed 3. That we are now dividing the pages of Figma between the 4 of us, and then just redesigning those. I hope that if Laksha is not on the call, so there's certain areas like the navigation bar, the toolbar that I indicated that would be useful to incorporate within the system website that is now a section of layer 5. So this is where we're at with that.
Okay. Ritik, Rex, you guys.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question, Lee, if that's fine. Implementing the current systems, how it was, the major issue that was, I think, was recurring that I had multiple people point out was we needed to use what we already had. And I'm guessing that that is an issue that is a point that everybody agrees with or everybody is on board with. If that is the case, we also have to consider the fact that it's actually different. The content of systems means that some of these principles have to change. That's why you'd recall I was asking for feedback on these contents, because if they are not agreed upon, then
people have I'm going to interrupt and say people have a misunderstanding. Like what I was trying to say, I wasn't trying to say that that people have to literally go reuse all the same components precisely. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I was trying to say is like, oh man, we're about to go out, we're about to go out and build yet another design system with new components separate from the ones that we have on the 8 or 9 other sites that we have, separate from the components that are in Meshery as well. And it's like,
that may not work. That's what your fear is, right?
Say it again.
That may not work, be sustainable and eventually spread across board, which is your fear.
I mean, like the point of it was to consolidate. The point of it was to like be rid of those and just have one. And so there's some refactoring that has to happen of the existing components or the existing sites to be able to reuse here. Like my fear was we were just creating more work yet like, and so my suggestion was, hey, let's reuse as much as possible as we can from the other places. The website of Systent itself doesn't, like, it's ideal if it espouses the what the design system articulates. It's ideal if the site itself espouses that and gives a direct example of those principles in action. That would be great. It would be nice if the same components that are to be used to build out, rich applications are also used on the site itself. That would be wonderful. There's a little bit of a chicken before the egg, a little bit of the site itself, the getting the data up and getting people to be able to build out more of the components or use them or understand what icons are there and things. Like we'll have to, what would you say? Yeah, we have to be iterative since we don't have all the components. And since we don't have people to build these out, all of them. And since like, it's a hard thing to, what I was trying to do is help make us be successful and stop creating new things, start reusing what we have. What we have, some of those things need to go change.
But you remember we had new things. Why we're trying to create this design system is because those former things had to change. And so if they have to change, you have to break omelets to make eggs. You have to break eggs rather to make omelets. So, I mean, we can't just keep saying we have to reduce and then at the same time.
I'm not saying that. That's why I interrupted, because I'm not saying that.
No. I've heard that from multiple people. That's why I just decided to bring it up. Not you, but some other people I've spoken with have pointed out, we have to reuse what we already have. That's, and it confuses me a lot. And I think that's the conundrum that we're stuck with at the end of the day.
Nice.
So,
good.
Go ahead. Yeah,
as you engage with folks, I think what you've articulated is just right. Hey, we want to, if there are things that we can reuse, good. If those things need to be elevated or new components or new colors or new typography or what have you need to be created, that's good as well. Like to your point, like that is the point of the design system, is to reflect on what we have, consolidate into a single thing. I think, yeah, the folks are maybe interpreting that direction a little perhaps too literally. It can be highly iterative. I actually have to take back what I said before. I shouldn't have said like, hey, this as a separate site and it needs to have, I shouldn't have, rather, what I should have said is we have to be quite cautious about how many engineering calories we have to go around, how much we're able to maintain. And so as we go to create something new, let's set ourselves up for success by trying to componentize or reuse things as much as possible. So if there's a footer element, maybe this one would look, maybe this one would literally not be the same footer as layer 5.io. That's fine. But to the extent that that component itself, excuse me, is reusable in terms of like a list, a columnar format with a list of links, and then a section that has, to the extent that those things are reusable, it becomes potentially maintainable. So I think I'm sharing my whole screen, hopefully. Can you guys see a Nighthawk website?
No. It's just
okay. So I'm just going to give a quick example, just randomly on the idea of a footer. That here's one of our websites, nighthawk.dev. Good. We don't spend much time on it, but it has a footer. And here's what that looks like at the moment. All right. And then we have another website, smpspec.io. And we go to the bottom, and here's what that footer looks like. Okay.
Yeah, I think I get the point here. I'm sorry, I might have to butt in here, but I think your concerns are very valid. And one thing that I think can help us with the proper solution is, because at the end of the day, I'll design, but if I don't have an idea what the code base looks like or what the engineers have in mind, it might just be an effort in futility, because they can come in and say, oh, we don't have the capacity for all of this, and then we are stuck where we are currently. And I think that's why for a while I've been trying to facilitate meetups with those who are actively involved in the back end stuff of things, trying to make sure that all the code base is in order. And they've done an amazing job. It's just, I don't know what the limitations are or where to supplement what they already have, so that it's not something entirely different that will be hard to bring to life eventually. Do you understand? I think again, I mentioned this earlier, but that's where our major blocker has been, that cohesion between both sides of the spectrum. If it's possible, hopefully we can get to meet up these amazing guys working on the back end, the front end, and then we discuss, okay, what are these components that we might redesign a bit or tweak a bit, and if we touch it in the code base, it won't have too much of an effect, or it will be easy to maintain, like you rightly highlighted, is necessary for this to work out fine. So those conversations are not being had. It's just, I go ahead and design, I ask for feedback, I get some, but eventually there is no pointers from the code end of things on how this affects, or these designs eventually affect what they have to do on their end. And so I'm left in the dark. And I think that has recorded, and that's why I decided to stop designing any more pages until we figured out these ones first. And then, because there's still a lot to do, there's still a lot of component pages to design. What I had in mind was that we could come to Systent and pick our own components, not necessarily going to Material UI anymore, but picking our own Systent design components and using them for layer 5 products. And that was the idea of the whole thing. That's why I took from this side, and thought of how we could implement all of them into Systent. Do you understand? And so it was meant to serve us and our products. But it seems there's still some attachments to all these other websites.
No, I don't care. No. For me, I don't care. And people are getting that direction from the things that I've said and probably misinterpreting. I was just bringing up like there's the 8 to 10 different footers that we have just as examples of sites that like.
Yeah. And systems would have principles on how to have a footer, for instance, or a header. So the maximum number of buttons to have, where to put the logo, all of those documentation will be there for footers because they are components at the end of the day. And so all of those guidelines will be in the system, same with the buttons, same with cards, same with every other thing. And we follow those principles, then we'd notice that if we want to have a footer for Nighthawk, for instance, it might be the same maybe framework with different, maybe a few tweaks, maybe with text or some other stuff like that. So I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're aligned on vision. And part of it is well, it's the challenge of building out Meshery as an example project of any of the projects is like Daniel is on the line now. Great. He wasn't on the line earlier when we were talking about his area. I use that as an example to say, yeah, it's super hard I'm not championing the layer 5 assistant initiative. And I don't have the bandwidth I wish I did, but there's so much stuff spilling off my plate. Somebody else has to step up to lead it and it's tough because folks come and go, or folks aren't on meetings, or folks it takes a while. To me, ideally it's on its own site. Ideally it's reusing its own principles. Ideally, the principles that are defined there affect all of the things that you just said. Like this, we're aligned on vision. There are any number of there's so many willing contributors here, many of whom are incapable, many of whom have good intentions, some of whom, 1 out of about 50, literally, that's a pretty accurate statistic, are willing and capable. And so, yeah, given direction and given a cadence can over time get somewhere. And I'll keep finding folks and helping provide a venue in which to help ensure that things are coordinated. We can take every meeting on Mondays, we could take 30 minutes, half the time, to just do assistant, just do that initiative. We can put it at the forefront of our website. Things like there's some things that we can do to help reinforce some things to help ensure that to eliminate the disconnect. Like Rex is one of the 50 that I just mentioned. He keeps showing up. He does high quality work. He cares about it. He's quite patient about it. He's reflective, thoughtful, doesn't piss off anybody because he's quite careful to ensure that he in terms of being a UXer, that's one of the it's a very delicate skill that's needed because you're often placed into that telling passionate developers or disimpassioned developers either way that they need to change something or something's out of alignment so anyway, that's Rex, that's going to serve you well. Some things that I can help ensure that we change are hey, let's get some dedicated time. Let's raise it up each meeting. Let's have a standing agenda item on mostly dedicated or half dedicated call on Mondays to help to focus on it, talk more about it, get more people involved, make it and help ensure that there's clarity over, help ensure that people understand the gist of the thrust of the statement that we want to reuse, but that's left up to interpretation, or that's the goal, and some things have to change to be able to reuse. I don't know if this helps. I don't know if that offers any amount of, and ideally, I mean, Rex will go redesign that website in Figma. That's not that big of a deal. That's not that much work to read it. The hard stuff is, and I'm speaking on his behalf, but the hard stuff is the guidelines that are written, the reasons why you lay things out in the way that you do. Not so much like his primary concern a moment ago was, hey, good, but there's so much info here. We've kind of got two levels of nav. So, it could work out that we could have a different site design, but gosh, it would be really great if there were two levels of nav. And that makes a ton of sense. I'd rather that we didn't have it on layer 5 IO. The singular reason that I've suggested it previously and now that it be a subsection on layer 5 IO is practicality of like, how could we get it done? Given that trying to create something new doesn't always and it takes someone to champion it. It takes someone to not shut up about it. Like that, and to all I want to do is get behind whoever's going to do that. You know what I mean? And give them resources, give them the stuff they need.
Yeah, I appreciate. I sincerely appreciate. I think this will help. This will work. Hopefully, one thing I think I'll do in the coming days. Hopefully, I have a physical meeting I have to be at by 6, so I might drop off sometime soon. But I'll try and summarize a video I saw on Figma. I've posted it on our discussion forum, posted it on Slack. I'm not sure much people went through it, and it provided insights onto how when creating design systems, there can be different compartments that work together, either to design components and then implement those components, or design websites and implement those websites. It can be the same person, it can be different teams of people. And I think that arrangement could actually work out. So I'll try and summarize the message in Slack, see if we can get willing participants, and then.
Yeah, we can give you we could give you something of a stage as well. Have a special instance of the websites call, or just a separately scheduled meeting in which Rex offers up some things that he's learning some things still, but knows any number of things, and like, hey, let's have or what I'm saying is you can offer up some training, or you can offer up some insights from those things that would be another way of rallying
providing guidance, I guess.
Say it again.
Providing guidance and, like you were saying, willing supporters. Okay.
Also, since you keep showing up, like naming you as the individual by which things need to be reconciled against, which is a privilege, and it's also, it's also a responsibility. It's also a burden, because
responsibility that one.
The thing is right. But the thing is you're already large, you're already bearing that responsibility is the thing, or you've already demonstrated the willingness to do it and the ability to do it. And so I think along with that, from my perspective, should come the privilege of some decision-making authority and some, there's some things I think that are overdue. I think that, I think somebody should be nominated to be a maintainer of the project. I also think that, something else that I'll say privately, something positive. Good. Hey, oh my goodness, 26
after. Everyone, I'm sorry I had to drag this on, but I think this conversation was coming anyways. It probably would have happened on a separate meeting, or this was also a good avenue to have it, and hopefully we'll make some leeway with this. And it's amazing work everyone has done so far. Antoinette, Sotanshu, Ritik, Sandra, and I think Lashia, put in some effort as well. Everybody has put in a fine shift, and it's only right that we get this up and running as soon as we can. So anything to make it work, I guess.
Elbow grease. Thanks. Hey, thanks for hosting, Yash.
So thank you for sharing tips about and information about system, everyone. And we are 26 minutes after the call. So thanks for joining today. And I would also like to share that tomorrow is our newcomers meeting, and tomorrow is our also build and release meeting. So if you are kind of DevOps guy interested in CI/CD and Kubernetes, you would like to join the build and release meeting, you can go to the layer 5/calendar to get the link of the meeting and the timing of the meetings. And thanks for joining today. And see you next week, same time. Bye.